And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. Launched in 2016 by founder and creator Lisa Mueller, the goal of the Nation to Nation Forum is to create a safe place for First Nations, industry, and elected officials to engage in dialogue about economic development and doing business with First Nations. At this year's event, Lisa invited 3 entrepreneurs to pitch their business ideas. We begin today's Open Connection with Jaylene Lighty.
I am JL Lighty. I am the CEO of an awesome company, but before that, I am a Métis woman, and I can trace my heritage back to the Red River Valley and beyond. My industry experience is heavily in oil and gas, construction, and project management, and I've been doing that for over 20 years. A large part of that is running and managing businesses. So that brings us to Ultralogics. Ultralogics is an Indigenous-owned, women-led data management company, and we're based in Smithers, BC. As Indigenous people, we know that knowledge keeping is vital. It's vital to our generation, it's vital to the generations that come, and mentoring that next generation is key. So we take on mentoring as part of our work. We view knowledge keeping and data as the same, and we teach nations how to use data effectively. That helps to build capacity within nations, prove the capacity you already have, and stabilize a community. You can't do that without data. So we've successfully adopted those principles across private sectors, industry, and organizations across Canada. Our mission and vision statement centers heavily around that capacity building portion, knowledge keeping, and the next generation. So what do? We do data. We are a data managed company that looks at data through that Indigenous lens.
Yeah.
That's a change we made about 3 years ago because we were more industry focused before. But what we really want to do, what I want to do as a CEO is work with our cousins. So that's where we focus. So what does that mean? I got a little picture. It means that instead of siloed approach and compartmentalized data, we look at data as a whole, as a circle. So in Indigenous culture, the medicine wheel means something a little bit different to each one of our cultures. But if you don't know the medicine wheel, please talk to one of your Indigenous friends in the room. We can tell you. But I'll give you a high-level approach, and then Nelson is going to correct me later. So what it means in essence is everything is connected, everything goes together. If one part of your wheel is sick, everything is sick. So that's the approach that we take to data. When we look at it in organizations, we look at where they are, where they are now, and where they want to go. We use data to help them get there. We find that usually it comes down to either a lack of accessible data, it's a lack of analysis, or it's a bias in interpretation. We wouldn't know anything about that, hey? So that's usually what it comes down to, doesn't matter the organization. Part of the work that we do with organizations and their data is digitize it. So talking about data sovereignty is always very important, but you got to start with the basics. You got to start with digitizing that data. It has to be used and created in a way that somebody can actually find it. It's not in a banker box or a CCAN that somebody needs 3 weeks just to find that document. We help nations to get digital, put them into a data management strategy that is easy to find, easy to search, makes things go smoother. So it fits into our circle. Whether it's digitizing, managing, or destroying data, a client can come in at any point, and it's a circular motion end to end. So that brings us to, you see destroy on a slide, sometimes you get a little nervous, but that's permanent destruction of data. So that brings us to data destruction. That circle connects those points. And as we work through that circle with our clients, we find we have a lot of documents to shred. You go through historical data for a nation, it can be 70 years of records, 50 years of records, 20 years of records that are on paper. Right now, we have to outsource that. We put it in as part of our value proposition to our clients, but we still have to outsource it. So then we started asking ourselves, why are we doing that? It's because there's not a local option. So why don't we become the local option? Right now, there are no local Northwest BC companies offering that end-to-end data solution. The major competitors in our area are American-based companies, and they're traveling long distances to travel to our area to service us. That creates long service wait times, a lack of some data destruction options like digital destruction, and it increases the carbon footprint for everyone that uses them. There's also a huge risk of data loss and data leaks. Who here has a room full of banker boxes? Yeah. Who here has a CCAN or CCANs full of banker boxes? You can ask any of our RCMP friends here in the room just how secure a door is. It's not very. And a CCAN is only as good as the lock that's on the front. So when it goes into the cycle, it becomes more secure. Confidential data stays confidential. It's easier to assign permissions. I have another nice little slide. Since we're a data company, I got to give you some data. So the average data leak right now in Canada, and this is the average, costs $6.94 million per breach. And a lot of that comes down to, sometimes it's paper copies that are leaked out. Often it's paper copies. And then when you take into your room full of original records for your history, you can't replace original records when they're lost. You can keep them, you can archive them, but if you have no backup to your original documents, those are gone. Fire, flood, theft. So we have some local stats. These are for the Northwest. There are actually over 15,000 businesses in our area. But when you take out companies that have less than 10 employees, we're left with about 3,200 businesses that are accessible. There's Northern Health facilities, there's school districts, there's law firms, and hey, there's Indigenous communities up here. So when you take revenue and you look at that, revenue from 3,200 clients, just in monthly shredding alone, is about $4.6 million annually in revenue. That doesn't account for annual purge costs or annual purge income or one-time destruction of historical records, which we often do now. We have another. So this shows the overall Canada market, the BC market, and our local market. And these are conservative numbers for where we feel we can attain 4.6 million within a short 5-year span. So what do we do with the shredded product? That's great, you shred it. Where does it go? Well, we heard a little bit from our forestry friends here a few minutes ago. So right now, the industry standard is to take that shredded product, you resell it. So you gain income on shredding, you gain income on selling paper. But right now, the market standard is that all gets bundled up, you ship it off to Vancouver, and it gets shipped off to Asia, which again increases the carbon footprint for everyone that's using those service providers. Our value proposition is to keep that in the BC wood fiber market. We're going to sell it back to local market with pulp and paper or fiber.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. During a business pitch, the problem is the issue you're trying to solve for potential customers. The solution is a product or service you launch to achieve that goal. In order to attract investors, you need to be able to persuasively show that the problem is real and that the solution is valuable. Let us return to the conversation with Nick Gascon.
My name is Nick Gascon. I'm a certified energy advisor with Natural Resources Canada. I work with Z Energy, that's my company. We do energy compliance reporting and step code building compliance in northern BC area. I've done over 500 plus homes in the area, and I've seen all the different types of requirements, how the homes are performing in energy consumption. And with this knowledge, I have paired up with Adam Tang, my business partner, who will be doing a presentation later on this month, but he is planning with us to build a company, Z Homes. My background as well is in truss designing, so I worked with a truss designer planning to do beams, joists, and engineering with the snow load with the northern BC climate. Adam comes with a large connection overseas with manufacturers and many different industries. Our goal is to build housing for northern BC. There is a large crisis going on with the lack of housing, and the affordability is through the roof right now as far as the pricing goes. We're trying to find a way, which we have found a solution, to reduce the pricing of our materials and our labor costs to reduce our goal of having our housing reduce 30% to current market value. We are doing this for the goal of producing more housing in the Indigenous communities in northern BC and the surrounding area. So the homes that we're producing are more affordable, and they're going to be working on the goal of bringing home our community members back to their homes. We're going to be developing a more sustainable living, focusing on energy efficiency of the homes and reducing the utility costs overall. Our labor force is going to be focused on training locally our Indigenous communities. Our request is going to be seed funding, support with the Canadian standards and the engineering requirements to have our products produced in Canada. We are focusing on building an investor/partnership relationship with our Indigenous community members to create a pilot project in northern BC. We already have some communities that have shown express interest for this spring of 2025 to produce single-family homes and several townhouses to produce in their area. Ultimately, we also need coaching and mentoring, so I see there's a lot of industry leaders in this room that have some advice and suggestions to help us move this forward, and I'd be happy to have those conversations with you and show the diversity of what we found in our procurement process. So this is a 7th-generation home, so we're taking the best that we found in building science and combining it with building practice that's local building code. A 7th-generation home is one that's lasts 200 plus years. The materials are including light steel construction or wood construction if required. They're using, instead of using simple things like hardy plank siding wood material, we use exterior siding and we use interior dimensions that are crystal board, or they're made of a calcium silicone product. So the product is very strong and it is very waterproof as well too. It has extreme fire resistance capabilities, and all the rest of the components of the home is designed for energy efficiency, including solar panels, heat pumps, HRVs, heat pump water heaters. From an energy standpoint, this is something that I get excited about. Here are some of the products that we have shown. So we have on the left there, you can see the crystal board. It is a high resistance heat product. It's solid as a rock. It can be used in an alternative to drywall. It will last an extremely long time. On the top right, you can see the light steel construction, and you can see their window components are to the same quality or improved to Canadian standard. As far as the efficiency goes, we have local on the left side is the local building code. This is typical of the 500 plus homes that I've seen. This is a typical construction. On the right side is a Z home. So apparently the picture's cut off here, but you can see the difference in energy consumption reporting it. It reduces it almost 50%, as well as this is not including the installation of solar panels. With a 450 watt solar panel, 20 pieces installed on a 500 square foot home, it was reducing the energy consumption 38 gigajoules, which would put it as a negative offset or a passive home. The wall panel assembly as well, instead of an R19 or an R22 wall you normally see today, these are using the same similar style structured wall, but with 3 to 6 inches of mineral wool attached to the exterior, as well as the air barrier that's going to help air seal from the outside, create longevity in the air barrier for the life of the home. It will not be affected if there's any interior renovations completed. This is my website, and I have a lot more to share. Unfortunately, I cannot do that today, but I would love to have any connections and reach out to everyone about what it is that we can produce in this community. And at our website, zhomes.ca, is where you can find Adam and myself, where we can have a deeper conversation on what we can do for the communities.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. The 3 C's for a business pitch are clear, concise, and compelling. A clear pitch uses simple language without jargon Concise means keeping it brief, and a compelling pitch is interesting and relevant, encouraging further conversation. Let us return the conversation with Brianna Gibson.
My name is Brianna Gibson, and I have been a guest my whole life on the unceded and traditional territory with Tsimshian people. So before I talk about myself, before I talk about my idea, I really want to take the time to honor the ancestors of this land, your ancestors and my ancestors. Because without them, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't be having these important discussions, and you wouldn't be hearing our pitches. So let's just raise our hands to them. I am a Saulteaux First Nations woman, which comes from the Treaty 8 territory, but I've always been here in Terrace. I'm also a senior program manager at Métis Nation British Columbia, and I'm a side hustler. I own the Bucking Bar, which is a mobile bar, and somehow it turned into a catering business, which I really didn't anticipate, but it did. That's what happens when you say yes to everything. And I'm also a Bachelor of Commerce student majoring in Indigenous business, so that's kind of awesome. And ever since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. So my day job is a senior program manager, but my passion is in entrepreneurship. So what I'm here today to talk about is another side hustle, which is my bedroom. This is my bedroom on wheels. So this is what it looks like, ordered. I'm looking at auction sites, and they tend to go for about $3,500. I'm cheap. I don't want to order direct, so I want to order from auction. I want to so they're always on auction sites, and they go for about $3,500. When I originally started on this, I was going to build it from the ground up, but these are already established. They have walls, doors, windows, a bathroom. They come with a bed too, but that's not right. That doesn't look very comfortable. So what my plan is with this is I'm going to put it on some wheels and put some siding on it, and it's going to be adorable. So it doesn't look so much like a jail cell. They're really cute. What the purpose behind this is to kind of fill a short-term accommodation gap. Short-term, super short-term. This isn't long-term. This is not a tiny home. This is not a travel trailer. So what this is my original intent with this and my motivation behind this was just okay, so we all have Cousin Eddie, right? We all have one. You know, National Lampoons? We all have a Cousin Eddie. They can't stay. They cannot. So this is my original motivation. So Cousin Eddie comes to stay, and they're like, sorry, Eddie, you got to go. Brianna's coming to pick it up on Tuesday. Let's go. You want to be close to your family. How many people have family that stay, and you got to figure out how we're going to get them to the hotel, or rides. You know, you might want to just have a couple socials or something with them, and who's going to drive them? So you can put them in your driveway. And then the whole point with the bathroom is I could have just built a bedroom, but you got to get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and you don't want to go into their house. So that's why there's a bathroom, and that's why I wanted to go with those pre-built things, those prefab ones. So, but then it kind of gets to a more serious reason as to why these are a good idea. Again, there's just reasons why we have a gap in there's short-term rental gap and emergencies. So one of the first, this really made me question as to how can this help communities. So emergency situations. One of the first hierarchy of needs is shelter after food. So maybe you have somebody fleeing domestic violence, and they can go to their aunts, but there's no room for them. But they really, really just want to get them out of that house, get them out of the situation, whatever that situation may be. This is a short-term solution for that. And also, with the changing climate, especially in Terrace, we've seen the rains lately. In the past, we've had those, 50-year floods where people are displaced. This is another short-term solution. It's not long-term, but it is short-term, and it is for emergency situations. The reasons why. Why should you rent? Well, there's a couple. One is hotels can average about $250 a night, and you're not with your family. Another reason is the convenience. I drop off, I pick up, I clean up. You're not cleaning up after Uncle Eddie. And the ability to have your family close to home. Even, say somebody lives somewhere else remotely and they want to come to school in Terrace. or wherever. This is mobile. It could be anywhere in the Northwest. And they just need a place to stay at their family members or friends or whatever. And there's just no room. This is another reason to rent from there. In Manitoba, they do lots of business by what are called the Nietzsche principles. And so Nietzsche means friends. And there's 10 Nietzsche principles. Not all businesses can touch on all of them. But this one really, still got 2 minutes. So Nietzsche principles. So this one touches on some of them. And so locally produced goods and services. When I go to side my little bedroom on wheels, I want to, use the local mills for the shingling. Use local businesses for any of the products, really. And local skill development. When it comes time, I'm going to build one and hopefully it kind of takes off. And from there, I'd like to hire, I know that K5T has really amazing programs and I'd like to partner with them to maybe they have some people coming out of their carpentry cohorts, right? So keep those skills local, keep that skill growing. And so that's another Nietzsche principle. Public health. So again, when it comes to those emergency situations, maybe somebody's transient, maybe is in fleeing domestic violence. That's really can be a public health crisis. So that kind of, again, short term helps people kind of to get that level up. And again, human dignity, right? It's a shelter. It's a place to go, but it's also a nice, cozy place. So that's kind of it. And here's my ask. When I was a little girl, I couldn't even ask for a packet of ketchup. So it's funny I'm up here having an ask. But my ask is not seed money. My ask is not investment. My ask is not partnership. What my ask is for you to remember me.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
In 1977, entrepreneur George Atkinson bought one Betamax and one VHS copy of every title in the magnetic video catalog and began to rent them out to the public in the very first video store in North America. In this final segment of Open Connection, we open our archives to 1995.
Linda Bibendorf has been running the Video Stop store in Kitimat for around 6 years now. When she took over ownership, she didn't know exactly what to expect.
No, I was scared stiff. I was quite terrified. I had a lucky break. I came in just as a manager and became an owner after I started, so that made the transition a little easier.
She sure didn't think she'd ever be named Kitimat's Business Person of the Year.
And she is Linda Bibendorf of Video Stop Limited.
Bibendorf appears to be modest, and she is, because she really isn't sure what she does to make her small business a success.
Yeah, that's a really hard question. You go along and you think you're just kind of doing your job and you try to do a good job at it.
When you walk into Video Stop, you can tell right away what makes this small business work. If it's not the overpowering smell of fresh popcorn or the way the store's strategically laid out, then it has to be the staff.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.